Hello, viewers and listeners at home. I'm here to present an online teaching from St. Charles College, Onitsha, Department of Christian Religious Studies. My name is Aunt Ife Ezeafurukwe, and today's topic says Christian living in the community. By the end of this lesson, my students out there, you are expected to be able to, number one, state Peter's message to Christians living in the community. 2, highlight on Peter's advice to Christians on their attitude to non-Christians in the community. 3, mention 5 social vices that are common in our society today. 4, what, according to Peter, should be the right attitude of Christians towards persecution and suffering. Now, let's look at the topic in details. Introduction. Relationship that a Christian has with others is one of the conditions to determine a good Christian. A good Christian exhibits and maintains a cordial relationship with everybody. He shows genuine love to others, respects the authority, and exhibits joy in moments of trials and tribulations. All these are expected of a true Christian, that is, Christ-like child. Peter's message on Christian living, interpersonal relation among Christians. You get it from 1 Peter chapter 1, 13 to 19. Being steadfast in one's faith was Peter's message to Christians. Peter directed them to get up the loins of their minds, be sober, and set their hope fully upon the grace they will receive at the coming of Christ. He warned them as an obedient child not to live with the desires of their former self, the old life, that is, life of immoralities. Rather, as God who called them is holy, they should be holy in all their conduct, since it is written, "You shall be holy, for I am holy." In view of this, Christians should live a life hinged on the fear of God throughout their lifetime on earth, having in mind that God will judge everyone impartially according to his deeds. Peter made them to understand that they were adopted from their sinful ways, inherited from their forefathers with precious blood of Christ, and not from perishable things like silver and gold. Therefore, Christians were to reciprocate this supreme sacrifice by living a holy life. Christian living among non-Christians. That is, here Peter tried to tell us our attitude to others who are not Christians in our society. You also see it in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 3 to 25. The attitude of Christians toward other people who are not Christians help to determine the extent they imbibe the tenets of the Christendom. In view of this, Peter wrote to the early Christians on how to be good citizens and maintain good conduct towards others. He told them to put away all malice, insincerity, envy, and slander among themselves. According to him, like a newborn baby longing for milk, they should long for the spiritual milk from Christ, so that through it they may grow up to salvation. He went on to describe them as chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people, who are called out of darkness to the marvelous light by God, in order to declare his wonderful deeds before others. He, however, beseeched them as aliens and exiles on earth to abstain from the passion of the flesh that wages war against their soul. They were to maintain good conduct among the unbelievers, so that if they accuse them as wrongdoer, they may see their good deeds and glorify God. Again, he directed them to be subject, if not for any other reason, but for the sake of the Lord, to every governing institution in the society, because every authority comes from God. They were set up for the benefits of the society. They punish the law offenders, while those who do right enjoy their praise. This, he stated, is God's will, that by doing right they will put to silence the ignorance of the foolish men. They were therefore advised to live as free men, without using the freedom as a pretense for evil. Rather, they should live as servants of God, whose lives should influence the life of the wicked. Above all, they were asked to honor all men, love the brotherhood, and honor the emperor, that is, authority. Peter also encouraged servants to be submissive to their master with all respect, not only to those who are kind or gentle, but also the overbearing ones. Also, he advised Christians that when they do right and suffer, they should take it patiently, for that is the reason why they are called, because Christ suffered also for them. Having committed no sin, he died on the cross, leaving them an example to follow. Social vices and witnessing to Christ. Social vices, as we all know, are those immoral behaviors that the society frowns at. So, Christians were warned against suffering on account of offense they commit against the society or individual. Sometimes people will do something, you know that you are wrong, and you think when you are punished, you say you are suffering for the sake of Christ. That is wrong. This is what we are being told here. This suffering is as a result of one's wrongdoing and not for the sake of Christ. Thus, such suffering does not attract God's blessings. Among these offenses are murder, stealing, drug addicts, alcohol drinking, prostitution, tax evasion, embezzlement of public funds, bribery and corruption, fraudster, injustice, and their lives. Rather, they were recommended to suffer on account of Christ, so that they may be received into Christ's eternal glory. Tolerance and peaceful coexistence. These are two virtues of Christianity. A true Christian promotes and ensures that peace reigns in his private and public life. He also tolerates, thereby accommodating other people's weaknesses and wrongdoings. This virtue helps in portraying him as a good ambassador of Christ on earth. Now let us look at civic responsibility. As a true Christian, you have some responsibilities to play in the society. Civic responsibility is a duty or obligation of a citizen for the nation. Those things we are expected to do for the development of our nation. Examples: payment of taxes, obedience to the laws, rules, and regulations govern the society. To vote and be voted for in our election, so you don't skip election saying, let them go and vote now. After voting, what will happen? No, go and do what you're supposed to do and leave the rest to God. To respect the national symbols, flag, anthem, and currency. Most of us abuse our currencies. They fold it, they tear it, they do all sorts of things with it. Please respect currency. Is a sign of civic responsibility. To protect public structures in their environment and humanity in general. Respect for life. Respect for life. It is very, very important. Let us all help to protect lives and property. To remain loyal to the constituted authority in their various localities. Christian attitude to persecution. Before we go into details, what is persecution? Persecution is a cruel treatment meted out to someone because of belief or ideology. And from time immemorial, Christians are associated with persecutions from the early apostles. Even Christ himself suffered persecutions. So Christians and persecutions go hand in hand. Christians, this you will get from 1 Peter 4, 1 to 19. Christians were forewarned of the possible persecutions, sufferings, and afflictions which may befall them from time to time due to the practice of their faith. Hence, Peter enjoined them to rejoice when they meet such trials, knowing that the genuineness of their faith, more precious than gold, is tested by fire, in order that it may be improved to praise and honor at the revelation of Christ. Also, Peter advised them to get up the loins of their minds, be sober, and set their hope upon the coming of Christ. Peter opined that since Christ suffered in the flesh for the redemption of man, likewise Christians should arm themselves with the same sort of sufferings, for whoever has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, so as to live for the rest of the time by the will of God, and no more under human passions. He told them that let the previous years they lived in sin be enough now for them to live in sin, such as drunkenness, idolatry, cheating, lawless, etc. They were advised not to emulate the unbelievers who abused them for not living like them. They should know that all we give account to God, who judges the living and the dead, which, according to Paul, was the reason the gospel was preached to the dead, that though in the flesh like men, they might live in the spirit like God. Furthermore, Peter reminded Christians that the end of all things is not far. Hence, they should be vigilant and fervent in their prayers. He enjoined them to maintain brotherly love for one another, knowing that love covers many sins. They were to practice hospitality by giving freely to one another. He taught them that as each received the gift of the Spirit, should use it as good stewards of God for the benefit of another, so that in everything God would be glorified through Christ. We have come to the end of today's lesson, but before I round off, I would like you to answer these questions for me. Number one, state Peter's message to Christian living in community. 2, highlight on Peter's advice to Christians on their attitude to non-Christians. 3, mention 5 social vices that are common in our society today. And 4, what, according to Peter, should be the right attitude of Christians towards persecution and suffering. Thank you for listening. Thanks for always being good. Remember, use this opportunity to be useful to your parents and to yourself. Here is my WhatsApp number. Post your answers to this number. 080-675-91699. I repeat, 080-675-91699. Thank you once again. I remain your wonderful teacher, Ezeafurukwe. Bye.